Hi guys, welcome back to Lost in My Library. My name is Kate. Today I'm doing my May wrap up. So in the month of May, I had a better reading month, but I only read 4 books. Granted, one of them was a very long fantasy that I'm proud that I finally got through, but yes, I did only read 4 books. So, just going through some stats. I read 4 books, which came up to 1,563 pages, so that averages about 50 pages per day. I read 2 fantasy, 1 horror, and 1 poetry. Age ranges range from 3 adult and 1 young adult. The ratings were 3 5 stars, 1 2.5 star, which averaged about 4.25. So, I didn't write down the stats for POC, but let's go over. Let's think about it. POC, one POC author. Another one possible POC main character. I mean poetry. I guess technically POC, like in the sense of like the poet, like who's narrating the poems, probably POC because it's a POC author. Poetry would, but POC casts, well not cast, but like characters in one of them. 2 of them. But yeah, LGBT rap in 2 of them. One's poetry, so you can't really have LGBT rap, really. And it's also made pre-1900, so really, there was probably not going to be LGBT rap, especially for somebody of color who's trying to, get published. So, understandable. So, I did okay on my representation this month, I think. So, let's just get to the books. I Will Have You Without Armor, Kaz Brekker, or I Will Not Have You at All. The first book I finished in the month of May was Six of Crows. Okay. I love this. I loved this so much. It was so good. It was just so good. So, this, if you didn't know, it's part of the Grishaverse. This is the sequel series to the original trilogy. This has been made into a show recently. As we all know, I've been simping for Kaz Brekker pretty hard lately. Maybe it's mainly because of Freddie Carter, because Freddie Carter's fine. But, like, my heart for my boy Nikolai over here in Siege of Storm, that's his first appearance, but obviously he shows up in Ruin and Rising as well. So, what is this about? So, this is a heist book. It's about 6 thieves. So, we have Kaz Brekker, Inej, Jasper, Wyland, Matthias, Nina. Boom. 6 of them. They are going to try and save a scientist who has created this drug to make Grisha powers amplified without the need of an amplifier. Which, wow, okay, kind of crazy, and it's very addicting, and basically trying to stop the spread of this drug, because it's so addictive. And they're going to the ice court in Fjerda, which, as you know, there's Drew Scully, who hunt Grisha. So, that's pretty much all I can tell you. what also can tell you is that I ship Kaz and Inej so much. They are my OTP. The ending of this book, it's just that's just what I think of the ending. it's setting up for a storyline in Crooked Kingdom that I absolutely love to read. So I'm very, very excited to read Crooked Kingdom. It is a 5-star prediction for me. I'm just so excited. Okay, moving on. I can just go on about this book forever. So I'm going to put it down before I go on about it forever. Okay, moving on. It's all a farce, these tales they tell, about the breezes sighing and moans stir o'er field and dale. Because the year is dying, such principles are much absurd. I care not who first taught 'em. There's nothing known to beast or bird to make a solemn autumn. In solemn time, when grief holds sway, with countenance distressing, you'll note the more of black and gray will then be need in dreaming. Now purple tints are all around, the sky is blue and mellow, and e'en the grasses turn to the ground from modest green to yellow. The seed burrs all with laughter crack on feather wood and gemian, and leaves that should be dreamed in black are all decked out in crimson. A butterfly goes winging by, a singing bird comes after, and nature all from earth to sky is bubbling o'er with laughter. The ripples wimple on the rills like sparkling little lasses. The sun runs along the hills and laughs among the grasses. The earth is just so full of fun, it really can't contain it, and streams of mirth so freely run, the heavens seem to rain it. Don't talk to me of solemn days, in autumn's time of splendor, because the sun shows fewer rays, and these grow slight and slender. Why, it's the climax of the year, the highest time of living, till naturally its bursting cheer just melts into Thanksgiving. So I read Oak and Ivy by Paul Laurence Dunbar. This is a poetry collection by a black man who got this published in 1865, and it's one of the earliest novels, poetry kind of collections that I have seen from a person of color pre-1900. And it was interesting to kind of see like a glimpse into their lives reading this poetry. I don't read a ton of poetry. It's enjoyable. It's free because the copyright's gone out, so you can just go and download Oak and Ivy, so I highly recommend you do so. Some of my favorites, I read just before this in the little clip. Let me go find what it's called. Merry Autumn. But October is also a good one. He's written a couple about writers of the time, so I highly recommend that. There's Christmas Carol that's good. He wrote a welcome address that's kind of interesting to read as well. As I said, there's been some about different writers, different politicians. So Nutting Song. There's a poem called Nutting Song. I have the mind of a child, apparently, and think that was funny. I was thinking about reading it, but I changed my mind. Because, should be more serious. And it's literally just talking about him going out and getting nuts out of the forest. The Meadowlark is a good one. They're all really good poems. I'm just naming some of my favorites here. So, yeah, go read it. It's free. You have no excuse. Go read it. It's like 70 pages. You have no excuse. Go read it. The only people who should come are those who want to meet their monsters. No one is spared. Whatever you think might be worth it, you will find the sacrifice too great. This godforsaken house will promise you the world, then take everything you have. So I'm not going to expand a lot on this because I have a whole review about this book because I read it, an arc of it, an audio arc. The book is Dead End Drive by, why am I blanking on the name? By Ian Kirkpatrick. I did not like this. I gave it 2.5 stars. And it came to my attention, somebody commented on the review, that this was very similar to a board game that seems to be kind of in the same vein as, like, Clue, in a way, but, like, it's about Aunt Agatha dying, and people coming to hear will reading. Very similar. I have not seen any kind of promotional things talking about this was inspired by this board game. So, yeah. I have yet to check the board game out, but there is this, that it may take heavy inspiration by this book, by the board game. But obviously it's very different because it's not a board game, and right. So, other than that, what did I think? The characters are one-dimensional. The narrator's voice for the main character, Kelly, is grating. It's, I listened to the audiobook. I was given an arc of the audiobook, so I'm reviewing the audiobook. Part of that is how the narrator presents the story. So, yeah. Other than Kelly, I think the narrator did a great job doing the separate voices. They all had a very distinct voice. It's just Kelly had this grating voice that just was not good. Other than that, the deaths were cool. I compared to this as those B horror movies that you just watch to see cool kills. And that's it. That's really it. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't like this as much because it's an indie book and it's art. My first art that I got on NetGalley for this kind of review. And yeah, I plan on doing more. I have a couple lined up. One's called Legacy, and I'm hoping to read that soon. And then I have another one that doesn't come out until October, so it's going to be a while before that one. I have a review and stuff for that one. But stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. So let's just get... A man was defined not by his flaws, but how he overcame them. So the last book I finished in the month of May was Will of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the original Era 1 Mistborn trilogy. This book, compared to Mistborn, that's not Mistborn, that's Hero of Ages. That's the third book. I haven't read that yet. Haven't even started it. So, this book, compared to this book, is a lot more political. There is very little action from, in this. Very little action. This is one big battle for the most part, but this is mainly politics. So if you don't like books that have very little action, and are mainly about politics, you will not like Willow Ascension. It is a very slowed down. It took what was happening in Mistborn, the original Mistborn, the Final Empire, as some might call it, which it's also, some might call it, it's also called the Final Empire. My copy just says Mistborn. So this is all about overthrowing a government. Spoilers for Mistborn. Spoilers. This is all about overthrowing a government. They overthrow the government in this book, killing off one of the main characters, Kelger, who I'm very upset that died. I'm still not over. This one is about Elend and Ven, obviously. Elend becoming king. He is now the king of this township place that they were living in. He is now ruler here. So it's mainly about him and dealing with politics and dealing with the fact that he's got 2 armies on his coming. And he has to deal with having to deal with the 2 armies, trying to save himself, trying to save his people, and trying to make it out of life for him and Ven. And surprise, they got engaged between this book and this book. Why we didn't get to see the engagement, I do not know. I'm not the biggest fan of Elend and Ven. Like, I don't hate either one of them. I love Ven. I think Ven is a very cool character. I like Elend. I just don't think they're a good couple at all. I just don't think I don't think they fit together. And that was a major thing about this book, is Elend and Ven. And whether or not they actually love each other. And trying to figure out if they're good for each other. And there was a lot of angst because of that. So, I didn't like this as much as I liked Mistborn. I've been going back and forth of whether or not the end, which is just... What? It had me emotional for the last, 100 pages of the book. From, 700, just 600... When the battle starts, the big battle starts at the end of the book, to the literal last page of the book, I was emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster. Because the battle happens, and then you're like, "Ooh, okay, we got through it. Good, let's go." And then, well, some didn't make it, but obviously it's a big battle. It's a big final battle at the end of a fantasy novel. And then Brita Sears like, no. You thought we were done? You thought we were done. That's cute. And it throws in one last twist. And does that make up for the rest of this being... I don't want to say it was a slog, because it's interesting. And it has a lot of interesting conversations about what makes a good ruler, what makes a good man. There's some really interesting conversations to be had about this book. Also religion, that's also a massive topic in the book as well. Does the end make up for the heavy politics and very little action was like 2 scenes of like action, and then they'd last 1 chapter, and then it'd be over. And just like, oh, okay. There's a lot of world building. It definitely has middle book syndrome. That it's setting up for the 3rd book. It just feels very, very different to this. This feels like comparing the two. It just, I mean, obviously you have to read this first because it's going to be what happened at the end of the Final Empire. It has so much of, obviously has so much of an effect of what happened, and I like to see that there was effects of what happened at the end of Mistborn, and it's just not all happy dory. Kel's death at the end of Mistborn is felt throughout this whole novel, and I couldn't feel like I could heal and, feel like, okay, he died, we're gonna have to get over it, because they haven't gotten over it. And it's felt throughout this whole novel, and I'm just like, you're making me miss Kel a lot. I want Kel back. I half expected Kel to come back. Honestly, can we talk about how Brandon Sanderson decides to do a collaboration with Fortnite, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do a Mistborn character, and it ends up being Kel, and not Finn, not the main character. Why? What? Am I missing something? I'm obviously missing something, because, like, does Kel come back? Is Kel actually, fun fact, Kel didn't die at the end of, but that would make no sense because of the, what? I'm so confused. Why did they choose Kel over Finn, who is the main character? Like, I love Kel as the next person, same as the next person, but, like, whatever. I think it's cool, club, that can be had. Somebody that's not, like, Harry Potter. Someone that's a better representation of what the book community is now. Brandon Sanderson is obviously a good choice, I think, to do a collaboration with, but why can't we have Ben? I might actually play Fortnite. Would y'all watch a video of me playing Fortnite as Kel? Would you? Might actually do it. We'll see. We'll see about it. Yeah, that's my wrap up. These are 2 physical books that I read, Six of Crows and Well of Ascension. Both books that I'm excited to read the next book and finish both of these series. And then I also read Oak and Ivy and Dead End Drive. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening to me rant. I hope to see you in the next one.